Welcome everyone. Happy to have you all here again. And we're gonna break out into groups again today and give you a chance to talk about the form and give us feedback on the form. But before that, any questions about what you've been doing for the past week? The leads have been on Slack with us and we've been talking away. They've been bringing questions in, but any feedback or questions about what you've been doing over the past week? Not a one. All right, that's fine with me. Marika, anything?
No, I have a couple of things about annual, but should I save those for the end?
Okay.
Maybe?
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and put everybody in the rooms now that you're all here. And so it'll take a minute or two, you know that. What I think we'd like you to do, or what I know we'd like you to do, is to continue whatever conversations you've been having and things you've been working on. But we'd like you to look at the form, and the form is in the agenda. There's a link there. I'll put it in the chat as well. But we didn't want you submitting the form, or we didn't want to ask you to submit the form until we got some feedback and made sure it all worked for you. Once you submit the form with your resources, that's going to go into the database that will eventually be searchable and people will pull stuff up. So we want to make sure that before you submit, you actually are ready for, you know you want to add something and that you have all the info set. So after today, and Nikki, you can talk about this in a little bit, is after today, I think we will be telling you can submit the form, but first we wanted to go through it and talk a bit about it. So here's, in case you don't have it, here's the form URL. And yes, that you can, I think, is that correct, Nikki? Can they do some trials today to just check it out?
As far like of looking through the form, or?
Yeah, and submitting, just submitting a few as they try it out.
If you really want to, yeah, I'd like to, after today, then like have it just be final submissions, because I don't want to have to, we don't want our team to then have to go through and make judgments on, is this a test or is it not? And all of the questions are in the style guide as well, so you can also just see the information there.
All right. Okay, so yeah, so I think that can clean it out after today, so you can add some today, and then we can say that after the session, Nikki's team can go in, delete everything, and from there on it will be real, so to speak. All right, so I'm going to start assigning people and then opening the rooms if there are no further questions. Any further questions?
I just have one comment for the leads.
Yeah, go ahead.
In Slack, somebody had asked about where all this final information, or the final information that we're capturing, where it is. And so it's in 3 places, just as a reminder. It's in the style guide. The filter tags are in the document, the spreadsheet that's linked in the style guide. And then also in the master inventory sheet that we first sent out. I think most people made a copy of it. But that template that was in there, I've added all the fields in there in case it's helpful for you to copy those fields and put them into your master inventory. So there's 3 places that you can find that.
Great, thank you.
There's a question from Kristen about who submits, which I think is a good one to say out loud.
Say it. Will everyone submit, or just? I think that everyone can submit via the form, but we want you all to be aware of who's submitting what and know what you're submitting, so that you know, so that we're not getting duplicates of things from the same group, etc. Right? I'm doing 2 things at once, so just making sure. Tell me, Marika, if there's other questions, you can.
No.
Thank you. All right, almost there. can talk about anything. What else do you want to talk about? Matthew, Emily. I got Emily already. Okay, and then I'm almost there. Not everybody will be in. I'll have to go back because as people are coming in, I have to go back. So
I know it's Susan. I know I've probably asked this once, but here it is for the second, third, fourth time. Just to clarify, so the different groups, so my group can submit code.org and preschool could submit code.org, but their descriptions would just be based on working with that age group, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so and the way it'll show up in the final are two ways. If 3 different age groups all submit just for code.org in general, then we'll, as a Ready to Code team, we'll figure out how to combine those because it's just not specific to any particular activity on code.org. It's general review. We'll combine those. If it's a specific activity that really is meant for one age group and nobody else, or multiple age groups, but only one team submits it, but it's a specific activity within code.org, then that'll just show up one time.
And is that enough time, like that half hour? That might have been a little bit more. That's enough for everybody for this stuff? Okay. Is that everybody?
It feels so smaller now, you know.
I know.
Sorry,
Everybody's
Jeffrey.
tiny.
You've downsized. You've shrunk. So let's talk about the form and Nikki, if there's any, because this is, I don't want to take over for that, but if there's questions or concerns or excitement or issues in the working with the form, what did you guys talk about, succeed at, challenge at, etc.?
I have a question. In this framework, when you're assigning the framework to the resources, I'm not sure I do understand how you assign them, because you can really make every resource fit those categories if you want to do them, right? Like Coursera can be for family engagements, or it can be connected with youth interest, and it can be also creating equitable access. So how are you thinking about we should assign those tags?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. So I would think first about like what you're reviewing and why. So if it's a general just Coursera, like there is endless topics on Coursera. So are you just suggesting it as a place to go and look for professional development, or are there specific things on Coursera that you think are valuable? Because, for example, anyone can just go open up their favorite search browser and search for professional development or continuing education or whatever. And they can find those things. But what value are you adding to recommending this thing? And then focus on that value. So in the case of, like, I think some of the really easy ones are the activities. Those are implementation as far as the domain goes. And then for any of the themes or concepts, it may have a tag or it may not. If it's just a general activity, it may not have, it wouldn't fit with broadening participation, for example, and that's okay that you don't tag it that. But if it's specific outreach strategy for girls, then that's an obvious tag as well. So I think, I know this is fuzzy, but my advice will always be to just if you were just coming to the Ready to Code website for the first time, put yourself in the user's shoes, and what is the value that thing is that you're putting into the toolkit, and does it align with any of those principles? And if it doesn't, that's okay.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah. But if it's a specific enough resource, like an actual activity or lesson plan or something, then it should align, because it should have one of those elements in there.
Okay.
Some of the more general ones, I understand, may not.
Okay.
Linda, anything to add?
Thank you.
I am I mute? Because I had muted myself. No. I think the one thing I would say is that might just extend what you said, Nikki, is that if it looks like it's covering a bunch, if someone was coming to it with little or medium experience, which one would they be drawn to the most? You know, like if they're thinking about, I'm interested in community engagement, would they see that in it as opposed to all of us seeing in it because we know it all so well? Right?
And you can tag multiples.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
But I don't think, because we're thinking about like, okay, this tool fits this goal, but it can work the other way around. I can have this goal in mind to make this tool work to align with that goal. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can turn any tool into a family engagement tool if I want to.
Yeah, I guess it would be are you providing that overall guidance that it is used for family
exactly.
engagement? If you're not mentioning family engagement at all, then you wouldn't tag it as family engagement. But if you're saying, hey, this thing can be used in this way, and that connects with family engagement.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you mean in the blurb?
Yeah.
So maybe
and the value, I think that's what's the value of it?
And how used. Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of like you can make data do anything you want, right? You just have to present it in a certain way. So
just spin it.
Yeah, just spin it the way it needs to be. That makes the most sense for our users.
And it really is it's that blurb, what's the value, how it was used. That is really the core of your knowledge that you're contributing to the field. And so that's the valuable thing.
So maybe we should be writing the blurb first before we tag.
Maybe that's an individual decision based on how people think.
Okay.
Frontwards or backwards?
I'm sorry, Nikki.
Oh, go ahead. Are you talking to us or yourself, Juan?
No, I said I'm sorry because Nikki was talking. Am I a terrible interrupter?
No.
Are there other questions or comments?
I have another one.
Our group had a question.
Go for it.
You emailed us on Friday saying you renamed the toolkit.
Oh, right. We renamed the toolkit.
What is going on?
It's such a big change. Nikki, announce what the new name of the toolkit is.
So for context, we always come up with an internal working name on things, just so that we don't worry about what it's called so much until we actually get the thing set of how it's going to be. So we finally felt like we had gotten the concept of what this was that we were collecting and providing to the world. And Linda had a great suggestion of, well, let's think what would this be called in the library world? And it's not a database, it's not a toolkit. What it is, it's a collection. So when the users go to the librarians go to the website, they can search the collection.
Right, so it's just going to be a collection. And really as we were talking on Friday, the team, I realized that I've always liked, and I'm putting it in the chat, the Digital Public Library website. I think they use good language and have great architecture and things like that. And I realized they call their stuff, and it's a bunch of different stuff, a collection. I thought, let's just call it the Ready to Code collection. And it's so library-ish. Nothing big, Sarah. It's not the whatever.
It's still exciting. It's exciting.
I know. I thought the way I did it, and they were going to be a big announcement that we have this new name. Got it.
Alex thought she was going crazy. She's like, am I going crazy? Did anyone else see that email from Linda?
What else? Other things, questions about does the form seem usable? Do you have questions about how you're actually going to, because that's the next step. You've been working on selecting and filling in gaps. And then when your team is ready, you can start adding the form, submitting the form. Oh, good question about the resource connected to persona. I think if you, when you submit the form, if you try that one or two, and Caitlin and Nikki and Marika, if you try and make sure that one or two of those connect to one of the personas, that's good. Because we're going to want it in that same context.
Is that in, like, should we have a column for that somewhere, or just kind of outside the?
Maybe you could just see on the lead Slack, you could say, hey, we submitted this and we think it fits persona, whatever.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And Kristen, you had a second question that we missed, I think, but I just saw it about the learner characteristics. And I think that's actually a good question. So I don't know if we want to debate that a little.
Yeah, so let me make sure I understand the question. So you have an activity, I think it has multiple learner characteristics. So there's multiple age groups, for example, right? And we just want to tag things in your age range, other groups tag. I think this goes back to the blurb and how it was used and the value added, because, and I'll just keep using code.org just because it's such a generic one. Code.org, it's got age groups all over the place. So that one, tag away it, because it will show up in the collection as something that is suitable for a wide range of ages. But if your blurb is specific to an age group and how it was used with an age group, then you're going to tag it appropriately. Because even if the thing can be used wider, the value that you are demonstrating to the users of the collection is that it was used with this specific age group.
So even though we're the older teen group, you want us to tag, older teens or, middle grade or whatever, just depending on what we personally used, right?
Do you want to give an example? And then we can go specifically to the example.
I don't know, Charlene.
Yeah. So is it a specific
okay, so
activity?
some of hers are for grades 6 to 12.
Okay. So if the value statement and the how it was used statement is specific to grades 6 through 12, if that recommendation and how example of how it was used is for that age group, tag it that age group. If it was used for only 6 through 8, but maybe on the website it says for a broader age, just tag it 6 through 8, because that's the example you're giving of how that specific thing was used.
Okay.
Because again, there's so much out there that anyone can go to search and say, computational thinking activities, and then all sorts of stuff is going to come up. But what you guys are doing is telling people specifically how they can use it with their population, which is that extra layer that no one else has created yet. Caitlin, I know you had strong opinions. Does that match what we had decided?
Yes, I think that's exactly what we were thinking.
Okay.
And you can, if you're really stuck on something, you can always ask the group on the leads Slack channel, or just email it out to the cohort to get feedback.
It's been great, the leads on the Slack channel. You guys have been awesome bringing the questions in from your groups. It's been really awesome. Marika, we're almost out of time. Do you have?
I know. I'm going to ask one quick question. So about annual, if that's okay, right, Linda? I could go.
Yes. Oh.
Okay. So I know we owe a sign up for the Times. That's coming. And people have said if they have particular travel things and stuff like that. So we know that. But what we're starting to plan around promoting the demonstrations and presentations, what you guys are doing, in addition to promoting closer to the time, the collection. But what I'm wondering is, if you want to, can you contribute pictures from either your program that you're doing or your library or you because we're thinking about having a running loop of what's been going on at the Google booth. So I think I'm going to create a folder and share that with everybody so you can add pictures to it. And we would need those pictures by the, well, I'll put a date on it, but by the second week in June. So anyway, you can start thinking about pictures that have permissions and all that kind of stuff. That would be great. Okay, I think that's all I need to say now so we don't have to hold too much past the hour. But if anybody has questions about annual, sorry, I always have one more thing. Send me an email.
All right, everybody's feeling okay about next steps? Or as okay as you think you can? Good thumbs up. All right. All right, we will continue. Any questions, let us know, Slack channel and or email or community of practice. Eric. Oh, Eric?
Yeah, Linda, don't hang up and I'll
okay.
put it in the chat. But yeah, actually, I'll just say it really quick, is that yes, the programs are all scheduled. One is still not showing up in the ALA's online scheduler. I don't know why, we're trying to figure it out. But I'll just post that to our Google site, the schedule, okay? Yep.
All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day, etc. Bye.
Bye everybody.